Welcome back to another episode of Profitable Publishing. Today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to know if it's time to release your next book. I'm Ashley, I'm your host, and this is a space for coaches, consultants, speakers, and service providers to understand how to package your expertise into a profitable book. Now, before we get into the ways in which you can decide whether or not you need to release your next book, we're going to take a step back and we're going to address a few things that are circulating in the author community and some advice that really, to me, just doesn't fit the type of author that you are. So, that advice is that you should write your next book to sell your previous book. So, I just don't believe this advice works for everybody, partially because some of the understanding of this falls in line with people who have a series. So in theory, yes, okay, if you have book one of the series, book two, book three, and you just stop writing, but it's supposed to be a 6 book series, then your readers are going to be pretty annoyed, and or they might not want to purchase your book if they're not able to see, oh, all of the books are out. So from that, I can see why that rationale might be in place. So the idea that you should write your next book in order to sell your previous book, to me, has always been a flawed concept for the authors that I work with. And so if you're here, you are likely a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a service provider, a business owner, and you're likely adding author to your list of titles, or you are someone who already has a book, but maybe you're writing a different book in a different genre that's going to help you stand out and align with your business. And so, from what I can tell from just being a moderator in author spaces and also being an author myself, the idea that writing your next book to sell your previous book is really rooted in the concept of kind of like a spray and pray method, or the idea that, okay, statistically, if you only have one book, using statistics, like I said, if you only have one book, it's going to be harder for people to find it. However, if you have 15 books, you have 20 books, you have a higher statistical chance of being found and or being appreciated by readers and or for more people to find you, more touch points. Same kind of concept with marketing where you hear the idea that you have to have 7 to 20 touch points and that number changes consistently. But so I get that concept. However, there's a few flaws with that because many authors rely on that and they think that they have to wait until their fifth book, their 20th book, whatever this magical number is that's different for every person, in order to start seeing results. And that can be really demoralizing and it can be something that just is very draining because some people don't have 5 books in them. Some people don't have 20 books in them. If you are someone who's a business owner, and or you have a full-time job as well as trying to be an author, you might not have that much time to dedicate to writing your books. You might not have the capacity, you might not have the energy, you might not have the funds to publish that many books in order to finally see success. And so to me, I don't ascribe to the idea that quantity is better than quality. I think if you write a quality book and you make sure it's packaged in the right way, then you are more likely to see that success. And so this is also one of the reasons why we see this influx of AI books in the market is that once AI, and AI has been around, but once AI in this form of like ChatGPT or Claude was introduced, then we saw a much higher increase in books being added onto sites like Amazon. And Amazon actually had to implement, or not had to, Amazon chose to implement some different strategies in order to kind of see, okay, who is publishing AI books? And of course, those are all self-reported, so people can lie on those things, and AI bots, I'm sure, and things of that sort can do that. However, they're putting some things in place to see, okay, is this book written by a human? Is this book AI? How much AI is within this book? And regardless, we're seeing this flooding of the market space of books that are coming out. We're also seeing that people feel pressure. So authors may feel pressure that I need to release a certain number of books a year or I'm not successful. And for many people, that's just not possible. Some people are ones who release one book and that's all they got. Some people are like, I can do one book a year, I can do one book every other year. But assuming that just because you're releasing a certain quantity of books that you're automatically going to be successful is a very flawed premise to me when we think about the actual numbers that we're seeing and the statistics of authors that are successful. However, on paper, I understand from a mathematical standpoint, my dad's a retired math teacher. I get that aspect. However, it leads authors astray and gives them a false sense of security and a false sense of hope that if you release this many books, you're automatically going to see success or you have a higher chance of seeing success rather than focusing on the craft of your writing, focusing on defining your audience, understanding your audience, focusing on, did I structure my book in a way that's going to attract my readers? Is this book really something that's going to be something that they asked for? Did I research my market? Do I understand who it is I'm writing for? Those are things that are going to help you refine that aspect and really focus on being able to support your readers in a way that they're going to show up for you. Those are the things that help people to say, hey, this book is exactly what I didn't know I needed. And those are going to be the people that leave reviews and that recommend your book without you even asking. And so just wanted to put that caveat out there because it's something that I see often in author spaces. And it's really leading a lot of people astray in terms of those who are not necessarily wanting to become full-time authors, but those who say, okay, I do these other things, and adding author to my title is something that I want to do to supplement the work that I do with my clients or to have something that goes along with my speeches, things of that sort. And so if you have ever been someone who's like, oh, this person just said they wrote 75,000 words in a weekend, and you're like, that's just not my pace. That's fine. Understand that you're running your own race and you're on your own journey. Your goal isn't necessarily to become a full-time author. Your goal isn't necessarily to abandon your business or abandon your speaking career to write full-time. You're more so someone who is supporting your clients with your services. You might have a 9 to 5. You likely have a business, whether it's your books or outside of that. You're serving people, you have a family. You are doing these things because you know that a book can really help deepen your authority and or establish your authority in a new space. And so, for example, for me, I'm someone who has been a full-time educator. And when I did take a break, it was to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, which is a job in and of itself. And I've always had a business alongside my 9 to 5 or alongside being a stay-at-home mom. It's very millennial of me, I know, but we know that we want to have different options. And so you're not someone who wants to box yourself into just one singular thing. You know that you can do multiple things. However, you know that you want to do them strategically. And so listening to the advice that you have to crank out books over and over and over again or doing multiple books a year just really doesn't fit with the pace of your life that you have. And it doesn't fit with your capacity. So you don't want to compare yourself in those situations or to those cases because it just is not a good fit for you. You already have proven systems and processes that you use with your clients, that you use with your customers. You already have a framework or you're in the process of developing a framework that you can use to support people. And when I say framework, I just mean like a series of steps to get from point A to point B. You have a way in which you help people get results. Your goal for your book is to use it as a tool to help more people, or it's to use it as a way to support your existing clients who are already in your services, already in your programs, but will help you to be able to systematize things a little bit better and to make things run more smoothly. Your book is going to be something that helps to really let people know, like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And it really validates the work that you do. And when I see this conversation of, okay, write the next book to sell your last book, it's typically for those who are writing fiction or who have a series that they need to finish. And so it's just a different space for you. Back to the idea of whether or not it's time to write your next book. So this weekend, I was watching the BET Awards. I watched about half of it, and Lauryn Hill, who is a musical genius, she got honored and they did a tribute to her. So other artists came out, they performed her songs for her, and then she actually ended up performing towards the end as well because apparently someone who was going to perform wasn't able to attend. And so she performed and they gave her an award, a Living Legend Award. And so great performances, they matched people perfectly with who needed to be singing the song. But then online there was this discourse of she only has one studio album. Like why is she getting this award? Why are they giving her like this legendary award? And so I said, okay, let me think about this. And so after a couple seconds, I was like, well, wait, okay, hold on. Her album has been out almost 30 years. And people are still talking about it. People still listen to it. It's on greatest hits albums. It is something that transformed a lot of things and it also impacted a lot of people in the artist space, music artist space, and beyond. And it's something that people continually sample. Even Kanye West just sampled it a couple years ago and brought her back out on tour for concert. And it's been something that continually leaves a legacy, and the award was Living Legend. And so to me I was like, okay, this makes sense because of the impact that it's had. And so her body of work also speaks for itself, not just from that one album, because she does have a live album, she has compilation, she has things that she's done previously, so like with the Fugees before she was a solo artist, Sister Act, hello, like Sister Act 2, like she's done other things. And so the idea that, okay, just this one album is the reason why she got that is really not the case. And so then I was like, okay, well, actually, this fits really well with books. And I said, it all comes back to books. And so I thought, okay, this is really a teachable moment because when you think about it, your books leave a legacy. Your book, even if it's just one book, can have a lasting impact. It can be something that people continually come back to over and over. It could be something that changes people's lives, that inspires them to be an author. And it doesn't mean that you aren't writing anything else. So just like she has her one studio album, but she also had other things. So maybe you're also writing articles. Maybe you're also having features. Maybe you're speaking different places. But even having one book that is a signature book that really builds your authority and establishes you and or deepens you as the person who's like, oh, you are the person I need to talk to when I need to do this thing. Or you're the one that I need to come ask when I'm facing XYZ. That's really what a well-written and well-crafted book can do. And so I was like, let me look up some other people who are like one-hit wonders or one-book wonders. And so Gone with the Wind, Catcher in the Rye, like those are classic books that the author only wrote one book, but it's still something that we talk about to this day, years and years later. And then even if you're someone who takes long breaks in between writing your books, To Kill a Mockingbird, that book was written and then she waited 55 years to write the next one, or to release the next one, I should say. I don't know when the previous one was written. So it doesn't have to be that you're just rapid releasing your books. Then this also led me to a conversation with one of our faithful podcast listeners, Mike Kahn. He is someone who listens and we talk over on Instagram. He sends me DMs and comments on my posts and stuff, and I really appreciate that engagement. And we have good conversations. And so one thing he said is that he's really looking at what legacy does he want to leave. He's like, okay, what does 70-year-old Mike want to be known for? And that's just really profound. Like, what do you want to be known for? What legacy do you want to leave here, whether you're still here or not? And your book is something that helps to really solidify that. It goes beyond short form content. Like, typically, people are not going to remember, oh, I saw this reel 30 years later. They're not going to remember that. They're going to remember the book that you wrote. They're going to remember the speech that they heard you talk at. They're going to remember the program that you took them through. And so, your book and your frameworks can really create something that's iconic, and it can help people to be able to really transform their lives. And that doesn't mean that you have to do a bazillion books in order to accomplish that goal. It can be something that creates a movement and allows people to really get behind the work that you do and continues to support your authors. Sorry, I said support your authors because I support authors, but continues to support your audience and your clients. When your book is actually working for you, meaning that you're not just focused on those royalties or books sold, you are using your book as a structure or a framework to be able to support your other services or other offers that you have, then that means that you can focus on other things besides how many page reads did I get on Amazon, or how many books did I sell on Amazon, because you're looking at, okay, how many clients did I serve? How many people signed up for this program? It gives you freedom outside of thinking about just X number of royalties, a couple dollars for a book, a couple percentages of a cent for page reads. And I'm not saying this is to throw shade at anybody that makes income that way, because let's be clear, all of it matters. But when it comes to you as someone who is adding author to your name, or someone who is using author as a subset of yourself, it's one of your additional titles, you have to look at things a little bit differently. You have a different perspective, you have different goals. And so if your goal is ultimately to serve your clients and book people to work with you, then you have to shift your focus. And so this is something that I've done with my books, most recently Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders. It's a book that came out last year and I'm still able to make sales from it, but also I'm able to sell courses and VIP days that use the same framework as I share in the book. And so just recently, just last week, one of my former coaching clients, she signed on for the Pre-Order Profits course, and that's going to help her to be able to structure her pre-order and give her the support that she needs to launch her book successfully and generate a profit before her book comes out later this year. I had already done the work working with clients individually, and then I realized patterns and noticed, okay, this is something that I need to package into a course. I need to package it into a book, because people have different levels that they need support with. Everybody's not necessarily going to sign up for a group coaching program. At the same time, everybody's not going to sign up for a VIP day. Some people are just like, I want the book, I'll do it myself. Let me know the processes and I can get it done. Other people are like, nope, I need you to hold my hand. I want to do it step by step. I want to have a group and a community to do it with. And all of that's fine. People learn different ways. That's the work that I've understood by being an educator, is that people have different, not necessarily learning styles, but learning preferences. And so the ways in which they process information is different. And so when you have a supplemental resource, such as your book, such as a group coaching program or something of that sort, along with the work that you do, it makes it so that more people can work with you and more people are able to learn what it is you do and also be able to implement those kind of things for themselves in their business. So if that's something you need support with, then that's exactly the work that we do inside of the Profitable Publishing Partner Service. And if you have a previous book that you want to potentially republish, or you have a new book that you know that you really need to position properly so that it demonstrates your expertise, then book a call with me so that we can see if this is a good fit for you. So you can visit the link in the show notes to get started from there. Now, if you're thinking, okay, I'm debating whether or not I want to write my next book, then here are 5 ways to help you to decide if it's time to release your next book, to start on your next book, or if you really need to kind of squeeze a little bit more juice out of your previous book. There's a little bit more meat on the bones of your previous book. Let's dig into that. So the first way is that you have tapped into all of the streams of income that are tied to your current book. All of the ways in which you can kind of stretch your book to be developed in a different format to help somebody differently. You've created as many ways as you want for other people to engage with the content from your book, because your book is really just a container. In reality, the concepts inside of your book, the frameworks inside of your books are what people are really aiming for and what they really want. So just keep that in mind as we keep going. So that means that you have multiple paths for people to work with you. Maybe you've restructured your book into a group coaching program. Maybe you've hosted a masterclass. Maybe you've done consulting, or you provide services that are tied to your book, which I hope you were doing that. Maybe you've created an event for your book. Earlier this year, I hosted Profitable Publishing Live, and it was a way for authors to come and work with me directly in a community setting, in a short run community setting. It was a 2-day event, and we were able to actually research the topics for their books, outline their books, and also really understand the marketing side of things, so that way they can infuse that into their books. And so you have done all that you can with your current book, and you feel like, okay, I've tried the things that I needed to try. I feel accomplished in this. I've basically completed the ecosystem process for my book. So I have this alignment of things that are tied to my book that I've successfully completed. Now that doesn't mean you can't run those things back. It doesn't mean that like you can't keep doing those options. So for example, in the fall and the spring, I do pre-order profits, my 4-day challenge. Even though I've completed it multiple times, I'm going to keep doing it because there's value in doing it over and over, and you reach more people that way. So this isn't to say that just because you've done it, that you're never going to do that thing again. It just means that you've explored the ways in which you can best support people through the concepts that are within your book. Then you have an alignment, you have a vertical alignment with your books and your concepts. And so, for example, like I mentioned, I have the pre-order profits challenge, I have the book format, I have VIP days, and I have the course. And so there's different touch points for people to work with me, and they're able to tap into the things that they need most support with. Some people might need the full suite, other people might just need 1 or 2 things to kind of get them going. And it just depends on what it is that they're looking for. Now, the second reason why you might want to write your next book is because you want to stand out in a new industry. So if you're someone who is pivoting, or you're making a change, or you're saying, okay, actually, I've been known for this thing, but behind the scenes, I've been working with people on this thing, then a book is a great way to help elevate your status in that way. It's something where maybe you have done with you clients and you're getting great feedback from them, great testimonials, you're getting results for them or with them, and you want people to know about that. And you want people to know about that beyond just doing a case study and beyond just doing a video with them, a video testimonial, things like that. And you really want to encapsulate a new framework or a methodology that you've been doing. You have the receipts to prove it. You want to position yourself differently, or you want to position yourself in a deeper way so that people take you more serious. So I think about, I'm a child of the 90s, not born in the 90s, but of the 90s. I think about Family Matters. And so you have Urkel and then you have Stefan Urkel. And people did not take Urkel seriously. But when he came out as Stefan Urkel, people were flocking to him. People were near fainting. They took him very seriously. And so maybe you want to be taken seriously. You want to have this transformation for yourself where you are readjusting how people see you. That's an excellent reason to release another book. All of that works well with writing the next book. And so, for example, I was at the grocery store And just this week, literally 2 days ago, I was at the grocery store and I saw one of my former assistant principals. And I had seen him earlier this summer, and he mentioned that he wanted to write a book. And I said, "Oh, actually, I support authors to write their books and to publish them and to market them." And so previously, when we worked together, he only knew me for my food business. I mentioned this and I just said, "Hey, yeah, this is something I work on. I work with. I support people to do. So if you need support with it, here's my information," and yada yada. So then when I saw him this week, it was about a month later. And before I even finished my hello, he said, "Oh, I got to write my book." We had had a short conversation when I saw him the first time. And then I sent him a few resources, a link to this podcast, and then also a YouTube video, and hadn't spoken since then. And then saw him a couple days ago, and his first response was, "Oh, I need to write my book." Because in his mind it had shifted for him that, oh, this is somebody who can help me to do this thing. And that's something you want for you. You want people to think, okay, I immediately think of you. Oh, I think about taxes. I immediately think of you. I think about sports and NIL deals, whatever the thing is that you do. That's how you want it to be. And your book can help to really elevate that. And it can help you to automatically be an authority in people's eyes because they think, okay, well, if you spent the time and energy to write a book about this thing, you must know something. And of course, that's with caveats that hopefully you wrote it with integrity and you're not doing all the things that we know are also happening in author spaces. So of course your character speaks beyond you or speaks for you and speaks in advance. Now, the next one I'm going to share could mean that maybe you are releasing a new edition of your book, not necessarily writing an entirely different book. They can apply to different books, but just a caveat that it might be for books that just need to be re-released with some updates, maybe not starting from scratch. So the third reason why you might want to write your next book is because maybe your previous book is misaligned with where you are right now. So maybe your previous book was written on a topic that isn't your point of where you are in your services or with your speaking, and you don't want people to remember you for that thing, which obviously you can't control that entirely, but you want to start planting some new seeds of new things for them to know you for, and your previous book just isn't doing that. Or maybe your previous book is aligned to something you don't offer. So maybe it's a service that you used to offer that you really are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to keep getting clients from this previous topic. Make it go away. Make it go away, make it stop. Maybe your previous book is just too good that people remember you for that thing, and that's a good problem to have. But maybe you want to have something else in addition that they remember you for. And so this is something I do with my books. I have a food business, Shep, and then of course my current business that you're here for. And so I use a pen name. So I use Shep for my food business, and then I use my government name for for this business, or profitable publishing for this business. And so I'm able to kind of weave between those two. I'm able to secure speaking gigs for both. I'm able to use that pen name to help me show up in different ways. And though people might remember me for one, like if they think about me for food, because I have a cookbook and I have a faith-based food and faith-based devotional, it's still tied to books. So me transitioning into this business with profitable publishing just made sense because both of those are book related. And so that's actually how I got here, is because people asked me to help them with their books because I saw how I was doing with my books. So then the next reason why you might want to write your next book is because your previous book is just poor quality. And hear me when I say this, I'm saying this with love. It's okay that your first book or your previous book is not up to your current level of expectation or your level of preference. When you knew what you knew then, you did what you could. So it's okay to not know what you don't know. However, it's not okay to keep staying that way once you know what you know. So you don't want the quality of your previous book, whether it be the cover, whether it be the formatting, whether it be grammatical errors that are interfering with you getting those great reviews. I had a client previously that they kept getting reviews. It was a coaching client, not a publishing client. They didn't publish with me, but they kept getting reviews that said it was really hard to read the book because it wasn't edited properly. And so if that's the case, then yes, you do want to write your next book because people are going to associate that with you if they can't even get through the book because it's so riddled with errors. And it might have been that maybe you didn't know what you were doing or you did the best with what you had. And that's fine. I often tell people that your first book is likely going to be your worst book. And I'm not saying that in a way that's like you can't write a great first book, because you can. However, it means that each time you release a book, you're likely getting better. You're likely having a deeper understanding of your topic. You likely have more client case studies. You likely have a better understanding of publishing and of marketing. and you are a more well-rounded person, hopefully, and you're likely growing and evolving in your journey and in your business. And so all of that's okay. That doesn't mean that you have to be ashamed of your previous work, but it could be a reason why you might want to write a new book. Or maybe you hired the wrong contractors. This is something I see all the time online of I hired this person and they didn't do it right, so then I had to pay to fix it, or I had to fix it myself. And so this might be a time where you might want to re-release a previous book, or you might want to redesign the cover or get something else going, or write a completely different book, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, you weren't happy with the product. And so that's a reason that you might want to release your next book. And so if that is something you're looking for support with, my Profitable Publishing Partner Service helps you to outline, to write, and to publish your book in a way that will support you with attracting clients and supporting your existing clients for your current services. And so you can click the link in the show notes to sign up for a time with me to be able to see if it's a good fit for you. Our last reason why you might want to write your next book is that maybe you're finishing a series, or your book will round out your product suite for your ecosystem that you have. Maybe your next book will be this element that helps to flesh things out, or to help deepen people's understanding further on a topic you've already written about. Maybe it's a part of a series that without the other components, it might be hard for people to really understand the full picture of your full framework. Or maybe you saw a gap that your current clients need, that maybe you need to create a mini book for them, that when they're going through your programs, they can have something tangible that they can physically have in their hands, because we know there's science and data behind that, of physically reading a book or physically reading a text or taking notes or something like that, that they can use to be able to deepen their knowledge, deepen their understanding, because whatever is inside of your digital programs or whatever's happening at your event might not be exactly what is needed. Maybe you decided, hey, I need to add a workbook to this because the results that I'm getting for people, they're good, but they're not quite where I want them to be. Maybe you need to have a workbook that goes with it. Maybe you need a guided journal. Maybe you have an existing book and it's just like, this just feels incomplete without something else that's a supplement. And I've shared this before in the podcast that for my Daniel Fast devotional, people mentioned, hey, I would love to have the recipes in a cookbook. I used to offer them online on the bonus site for the devotional, but I was getting reviews that people said, this is not a cookbook. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, it's not a cookbook because it's a devotional, but I could have decided, hey, I'm not doing a cookbook, or I can listen to my audience and then release a cookbook, which is what I did. And so now I was looking at my book listing over on Amazon the other day, and the part where it says, when people buy this, they buy this, it had the cookbook and the devotional together. So it's just a no-brainer at that point. So it made sense for me to release my next book. And that doesn't mean I stop capitalizing off of my previous book. I still do speaking gigs and sell copies of the book of my devotional, but it just made sense at that time. And so also maybe your next book is going to be something that better positions you for additional opportunities. So going back to that example, now when I work with churches or organizations for that cookbook, because it's a faith-based cookbook, I can say, oh, would you like to grab the bundles? This helps you to have daily devotions, to be able to understand the Daniel fast, and also your relationship with food. And then this one helps you to have ideas of what to cook. Those are two different purposes, but they work together to be able to get a same shared result and a same transformation. And so today's episode has been about why having one book can actually be very beneficial. And when you know it's time to write your next book, here are 5 ways to really kind of check off some boxes. So you have tapped into all of your streams of income from your previous book. You want to stand out in a new industry, and that next book is going to help you do that. Your previous book is misaligned and it's just not a good fit for what it is that you want to do. Your previous book is just poor quality, meaning that you maybe didn't know what you didn't know. And so now it's time to level up because you've elevated. And then the last one, maybe you're finishing a series or you are rounding out your product suite of books. And so if this is something you need support with writing, publishing, and structuring your next book to be able to package your expertise into something that supports your brand and attracts your audience, then head to the show notes to check out the Profitable Publishing Partner program, and we can see if it's a good fit for you by booking a call with me. Until next time, stay profitable.